All right, the recorder's moving, and we are now in session for the MESH meeting. Good evening, everyone. Glad you're all here. Same few folks. Everybody's got their name listed on their picture, so no need to do any kind of introductions. I'll start us off. This is our April meeting. We're doing this monthly. If you're watching this on a recording, doing it monthly on the second Tuesday or Thursday, second Thursday of every month. We were going to go to quarterly, but since we've got some action coming up, we think maybe possibly we're going to stay on the monthly schedule while we kind of dole out possible work assignments. So the big thing is, and I'll let Nick talk about it, but I'll just mention that Nick has worked feverishly on getting a grant turned in to get us some cash moolah to purchase some equipment to support the community. So I think that's a great thing. And some of his numbers were based on the project that I started when I was still the president of the club way back, probably 6 years ago, coming up with items that would not only make the community more resilient to disaster, but also to educate folks on ham radio and the mesh and how it ties in with ham WAN to provide emergency communications during a disaster. So the mesh part of what I currently still do is really an extension of emergency communications, if you think about it. It's just another way to communicate without terrestrial services. If we lost those, we lost cell phone, and we still had our mesh system up, we'd be able to communicate with each other. So repeaters go down, mesh might still survive. So that's why I'm still involved, and that's pretty much it. I haven't done a thing mesh wise. Yep, I dumped off some equipment on Nick. He's been the repository of all my mesh stuff, except for my Rocket M2 and an omnidirectional up on top of the roof. I pretty much don't have any involvement in mesh. I haven't connected to it. I don't know when it was last updated, probably 3 years ago. But I'm happy to see that folks are still interested in mesh as we move forward. And that's pretty much it. I'll pass it on. I guess we'll start with you, Nick, because you got the biggest portion of the news.
Sure. Yeah. Let me just share this real quick. So this was the diagram in the this is the proposal that I sent to the ARDC, but I feel like this diagram is sort of the best summary of it. Essentially, it's a grant proposal to get a bunch of equipment so that we can deploy these sites. And some of these sites are manned and some of these sites are unmanned. They all have Arden equipment and they all have Meshtastic equipment. And sort of the idea is that the Arden stuff creates a data network that we can do IP phones and we can do video cameras. And the Meshtastic network gives us a way to do so this is a little Meshtastic device, but it lets us hand these out to unlicensed volunteers that maybe know nothing about the device at all. They just need to carry it with them, and it provides location tracking. And these devices don't have a screen or anything, but they do make devices that have screens, and you can do text messaging with them. And so you could imagine that this lets us, we have sort of the Arden network with licensed operators that have some training and some kinds of expertise. And then you've got all of these random volunteers who are like, go do some task and take this with you, and we'll have location tracking because of that. And back on our Arden network, we can go to a map view that would look like, for instance, this. So this is the map view of the Meshtastic network here in West Seattle. And so there's all these different nodes all over here, you know, with their location. And a lot of these are fixed devices, but some of them are, you know, things that people are carrying. Let me see if I can find one that someone's actually carrying. I don't know, it doesn't matter, but they can be updating their location as fast as like every 10 seconds. And then that gets collected back if we look at our diagram. So, right, that's like these guys in yellow. That gets collected by some site and then relayed onto the Arden network and then sent to that map view. And now we've got a map view at some command site or something like that. And we can do other stuff with it now that we've gotten an Arden mesh, right? And so the proposal is to get like tents and Arden equipment and IP phones and network equipment and big screen TVs that are really high brightness, so they've got a shot of actually being visible in a tented, you know, under tent area. And there's money for printing up nice, really high quality posters that have all kinds of information about amateur radio and about Arden networking and flyers that we can hand out to people. And the total proposal is for $50,000, and that's enough money to get like 5 of these command sites that includes a television and tables and chairs and IP phones and Arden equipment and Meshtastic equipment and posters, and 15 of these relay sites. Oh, and they batteries, solar panels, like I think it was 400 watts of solar panels and 200 amp hours of batteries for these command sites, and 50 watts of solar power and 50 amp hours of batteries for these relay sites. Anyway, so it's a bunch of equipment, and we'll see, you know, if it comes through. I mean, you know, the prices might be crazy different now than when I first wrote this, but who knows?
You should think of your poor quartermaster.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if any of this comes through. But that's kind of that was the proposal that I sent in. And this one of the, in fact, I've got some use cases here. Yeah, so one of these use cases would be like the West Seattle Grand Parade, where we can deploy a few of these tents and some of these relay sites and have these posters, and we can show people where the parade floats are on the route, and have video cameras so that people, you know, people that are down in the Alaska Junction can see the front of the parade as the units just start coming out, or the people that get to Hiawatha and the parade is kind of passed them by, they can still see the, you know, the Seafair Pirates and sort of see some of the stuff that's going on. So that's one use case, and that's like a pretty simple use case, right? We just need to put up a network up and down California Avenue, and we don't need $50,000 for that. The other use case that I proposed was supporting the hubs in an exercise or in an emergency, where we can, at some of the hub locations, we could deploy one of these tents with a television, and we could put up a big temporary, totally self-contained Arden network with the location tracking. And, you know, like, I remember one year we had people that were like, go run to the bridge and let us know if it's still up or something like that. You could imagine that person, you hand them one of these location trackers so you can keep track of the person if the person gets stuck or waylaid or something like that. And we could do text messaging to that person. And that person, this is unlicensed technology, so they don't have to have a license. And it's easy, simple to use. There's not a lot of functionality. So it's doesn't require a ton of training. So that was kind of the other use case. And what I have been doing so far is trying to get like a proof of concept for the Grand Parade. So can I get 2 deployable kits of Arden equipment that we could throw up and down California Avenue, where they each have an IP phone and they've got some of the Meshtastic equipment, and I've got a couple of these devices. And Brian donated a bunch of IP phones, and I got all the IP phones working, and I got a little computer. It's low, it's like a little mini PC, and it's running some of the IP phone software, and it's running that map that we saw a minute ago. So like this view, and so we should be able to take that stuff, get it deployed on California Avenue, and see that working. And so I think it'd be great to try and do that at some point, you know, in like the next month. You know, some weekend, just spend an afternoon throwing that stuff up with a battery and see it working on independent power, and make sure that we can pick up the IP phones at the 2 distant locations and talk to each other, and make sure that we can see, you know, hand someone one of these and say, go walk to the other site, and we can watch on the map the little dot traverse along. And the idea is all of it just works when we deploy it. We're not monkeying with a lot of configuration and settings when we deploy it, right? That I'm trying to do all that configuration right now. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on. And yeah, I think it's doable. I mean, I think we'd learn a ton about whether or not it works. So what do you guys think? Does that seem like a worthy exercise?
I'm pretty sure it also gets some folks interested in technology.
Yeah, and that was a big part of the proposal, right? If we look back at I listed these goals at the beginning here, right? So it was do all the things that I just talked through, but also educate operators, both amateur radio operators, but also people in the public who might want to help and volunteer, and then also educate the general public about this technology and about amateur radio in general. So the distinction here is the first group are people that are actually doing work, right? So these are the participants in the parade. These are the amateur radio operators who are going to deploy this stuff and operate it. The second group is just like bystanders who are walking along and they see a poster and it's like, oh, wow, amateur radio, what's that all about? And then the last piece is documenting all of this, having write-ups about what have we done, how did we do it, what were the problems we ran into, so that we can publish that, and some group in Eastern Washington can do it, or some group in Utah can do it, or whatever it is, right? But yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I think that there's probably folks like Tom, UGU might be interested in helping out with this, or there was a woman who, Corey, she came to the Ham Connect event. I know she's really interested in learning enough about amateur radio and just radio in general so that she can help support her own community events. I think I mentioned this, that she's the one that was using not FRS, but one of the other unlicensed services that
MERS.
Yeah, MERS. I think that's right. Yeah. That she was going to get a bunch of MERS radios for community events that she's an organizer for. But she might be interested in learning about this stuff because she's the kind of person that's like interested in helping out with emergency radio, or yeah, I don't know. So yeah.
Very cool, Nick. I'm excited. I'm up almost every weekend, so I would be willing to go to work if you give me a work assignment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'd be great. Yeah, I think this weekend is not great. But either, and then I guess on the 19th we're doing the
Okay.
picnic, but maybe that's Sunday, or I guess I'm supposed to go to Portland the weekend after that, and then I'm going to Chicago the weekend after that, but I don't know. We could do one of like the Sunday the 20th, or we could do it when I get back from Chicago on like the 10th of May or something like that. But
We're probably going to be out of town, so we're going to head to Dayton, Ohio
oh, cool.
for the Ham Fest. So, but I whatever can arrange. I didn't have to worry about me. I'm one cog in the wheel. There's a bunch of other cogs.
Yeah. Oh, and then the other thing is Jim and I, we retrieved this guy from the Center for Active Living.
Did you get the mounting bracket too?
Yep, the mounting bracket and the
Cinder
blocks and the rubber mat and the cables, and yeah. There's nothing quite like holding a rope with a cinder block on the end of it down the side of the mural at the senior center.
Steve Jackson and I put those up there. I pulled them up and Steve tied them on. So
yeah, that was
that was an
exciting.
experience. Didn't want to break a window or something.
Yeah, right. We ended up putting the cinder blocks back through the kitchen, but the poor chef, he was actively preparing like 50 pounds of chicken thighs. And we're like dumping a cinder block right next to it. Yeah. We showed up, and the lady that we were coordinating with at the senior center, she walks us into the kitchen and she says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to email you about this." And the guy just looks at us like, "What are you going to do to me here?"
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But I
All
think,
right. Well,
yeah, Jim wants to install it at the Eagles, and the access to the roof at the Eagles Hall is way, way easier.
we could probably also get a plastic box to put the PoE injector.
It's
in.
already got a really nice one, actually. So yeah.
Okay. Is that one of those little clear on one side plastic box?
It's like, it's clear and it's got a rubber seal, and there's a hole where the cables come out that it's got, like, it looks like hot glue or something.
Yeah, it's silicone.
Or silicone. Yeah, silicone caulk. That's probably what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it held up well. That's good.
Yeah. everything about it is fine. I reflashed it from scratch. I
Yeah.
didn't even bother trying to see what was on it, but it works fine.
Cool.
So there's my whole update.
Okay, thank you, Nick. You're the only one kind of doing anything, but thank you. Tom, OEP?
I have done nothing.
Mm.
It's just, after trying to recover from the overseas trip and getting caught up at work, and then getting a whole lot of stuff shuffled around, getting ready for not having to work anymore. I just haven't had time to play radio much. So
You can say the R word.
not yet. I don't want to jinx myself. But I will soon be answering to nobody. Well,
But
that's
to
not
yourself.
true. I'll still have one person here I have to answer to.
Yeah.
That's a
okay.
heck of a lot easier to negotiate with.
Yeah. Even in foreign language.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and
I
then
did a little work with getting the replacement repeater for the club. So I've been doing some of that on the side as well. So
you still have your antenna facing Kurt, or is it facing Providence?
I have one in my driveway that's facing Providence, and I have one in the backyard that's facing Kurt and Ken. And Eric, when his is on, and whoever else is up there on the hillside. So it's kind of in that general area.
We at the next club meeting, we need to entice people to turn their units on. I think.
Yeah.
Make sure that everybody that has mesh turns their units on so we can see who we can connect to.
Yeah,
because there's been changes.
There's no network if half the nodes get turned off because people says, well, I'm not doing anything with it. No, but other people might be using your node to connect to other people. So leave them on.
Really?
That's the whole purpose behind them, is to leave them on.
So, John Walling, did you ever get tunneled into the EOC?
No, not because it's a technical problem, but because I haven't taken any steps. Well, actually, I have a little bit of apprehension because it's been a while since I've tried it. So, but I have to load some firmware.
I have an update about the tunnel server, by the way.
Okay.
Jonathan is also having trouble with the tunnel server, and he looked into it and talked to Doug Kingston, and it sounds like they are in the middle of a big server migration. And so it's possible that the tunnel server is completely offline right now.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you didn't get an email from anybody at ACS about that, contact them, because they sent out emails to tell everybody that they knew about that they were making these changes, and they wanted to reach out and connect with those people to get them reconfigured to the new tunnel. I bought one of those little boxes at CPAC last year, and it's still sitting in my shack. I've not even plugged it in. So it's got the firmware loaded, but it hasn't been configured. So I thought about doing the tunnel thing here until I get a better RF path. But
who at ACS would I contact?
Who was it? Nick, do you remember who sent out the email that he was working on the new tunnel?
I don't know. I never got that email, but
okay, let me see if I can find it here.
Yeah, Doug. Yeah, I know Doug Kingston is involved, and I think he's working with Juan.
That sounds familiar.
Juan Vasquez. He's another new recruit. Yeah. I mean, I'd probably be working on it if I was actually a member of ACS. Doug's also loading.
We can help you with that.
I have one more course I need to take. You need like 2 hours to take one of those courses. I just need to carve out 2 hours.
Nick, I had a question. Does OEM know what you're doing?
OEM.
In regards to what?
With regards to the proposal.
I let Doug know, and I sent it to him. I don't know if
it doesn't matter to them what we're doing. This is totally outside their
Well,
their
I
bailiwick.
know, I understand that, but I mean, this is an emergency management tool, and so I was just thinking they might have an interest in the subject matter.
Emergency communications tool, not an emergency management.
Excuse me, I misspoke. Also, the medical service team might also have an interest.
They could probably use it, once we get it working and get the documentation, it'll be free to everyone locally for sure. And then if we can get it published in QST magazine, that would be a great venue to get it nationwide.
Yeah, I just see a lot of value in what Nick's doing.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with OEM. That's outside of their purview.
Well, but they do use Arden, so
I'm sorry.
they do use Arden, don't they?
Yeah, it's only because we started it and they wanted to play.
Okay, so they're not doing anything. Okay.
Yeah.
And John, I just forwarded you the email chain that started by Doug with Juan involved with talking about the tunnel upgrade. So,
Good. Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out.
okay.
All
So I
right.
think-
So go ahead.
I was going to say, you may not be able to see what this is, but this thing measures EF, EMF, and RF. And right now, it's telling me that I am over the limit for EF. It's beeping at me. Beep, 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 beep.
Okay.
So EF in my environment is above what they consider the safe limit. So we've got too many electronic devices.
Is that electromotive force? EM?
Well,
EF?
that's a good question. I was trying to figure that out. The only,
Because
yeah,
electromotive force is electricity. You've got too many volts around you.
there's electricity is in the air. But yeah, it says it's beeping at me. It says it's high, and I do try to use this occasionally when I'm turning on the Yagi antenna to make sure I'm not in its backload, catching the RF out the backload. Just a little show and tell.
Cool. Okay. John, the quartermaster, AZP.
Last but not least.
Yeah.
Uh,
Certainly not least.
the setup for the California corridor, I'd like to help with that too. I'm not sure if there are buildings that could be accessed with permission to use the tops of them along that path or not. I was thinking off the ground higher might be better, but if we can do it ground mounted, that's perfectly valid too. Just a thought.
Yeah,
Well,
Jim.
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so Jim has already talked to the Eagles about using their roof, and then he has some ideas about some spots along the parade route where we'll be able to deploy stuff that'll be out of the way of the parade. And so he's thinking maybe we can strap something to, there's a sign on like Charleston, and then there's a pair of islands in the middle of the street on Spokane and on Hines. And those might also be good spots, but yeah, I mean, it would be great if we could get it higher up. That would definitely be better, I think.
It'd be nice to get on that CenturyLink tower.
Yeah. Yeah, that would.
I don't think those microwave dishes pointing at Bainbridge are in use anymore. I'm sure they're all using fiber and whatnot now. So
Interesting.
that's a nice tower.
Huh. Do you know any idea who we would talk to about?
Not offhand.
Anything else, John, AZP?
I actually did do a little work on the home node. I have a CPE 210, just a low end TP link, and um, I was playing with it a few months ago. Could get some spotty reception and transmission going out, and sometimes a usable signal, but a lot of times it was below the SNR threshold. So I kind of pieced together an old satellite dish to crank the signal strength up a little bit. I put it sitting uh, about 60 degrees like the original LNA was, and I bent some angle iron and strapped it in place, and it works. So I can get into the Myrtle Reservoir node okay. And you and Tom and another are showing as hidden nodes, but on your node, I opened up the mesh chat and left a message the other day, so it's usable even though yours is hidden because you're talking to the Myrtle Reservoir one. But
Hmm.
I'm losing signal every once in a while, and I'm not sure if it's birds flying by or the trees or whether it's a hidden node phenomenon and dumping me off from interference or something. But I'll
Hmm.
troubleshoot that over time and see what's going on.
Well, it's good to know that mine is making contact with the Myrtle. That's a good thing. Otherwise, tonight, if nobody said they saw me, I was going to go up and unplug my unit and plug it back in and just restart it.
Yeah, no, it was responding and looked like it was all okay. So.
Some point I need a smart person to come up and interconnect the ham WAN to the mesh because I've got ham WAN here that works just fine.
Yeah, I was working on that today. I've got a MicroTik, and I updated its operating system 2 levels. So theoretically, it's up to date. Now we got to do a bunch of stripping and blocking and stuff so that it's down to the bare essentials for ham WAN and try it out.
Where are you going to try and attach to Beacon Hill?
That was a thought, but I'm actually um, behind the hill a bit for Beacon Hill. Um, I might be able to hit Gold Mountain, but I think I only have probably a 7.5 mile range on this little unit. So I'll probably
Unfortunately, gold is no more.
Oh, okay.
It's what is that? Not Larch, but
Buck
there's a
Mountain.
mountain. There's a Buck Mountain. It's a little bit further north.
It's up near Quilcene.
Okay. Um, hmm. That's yeah. Um.
Well, some people in West Seattle are hitting it, so
Okay. I'll probably just turn it around and sniff and see what's there.
I am I'm looking up. I've got a program on an app on my phone that identifies peaks called Peak Advisor. And what you use is a camera and its position, and you move it around, and it will identify. Let me turn my background off, and you can see it. And you see those little tags?
Okay.
See
Yeah.
it? So wherever you're pointing the camera, it will put a tag up of what that peak is. And it also gives elevation. So it's what I use to find Buck Mountain.
Pretty handy. Peak Advisor is the app.
Yeah, Peak Advisor.
Cool.
And you can use it for a little bit free. I used it a lot, so I paid for the app. I think yeah. Anything else, AZP?
No, sir.
Alrighty. Go around for the good of the order. Start with Nick again in case something come up. Nope. Tom?
Mentioning the TP link, I still have one on the roof at the office I got to take down because for some reason it ain't working. So it works when I have it sitting on the bench, but when I stick it up on the roof, it doesn't work anymore. I don't know. Tested the cable several times and it rings out fine, but it's only 75 feet, so it shouldn't be too long.
No.
Anyway,
I wonder
so-
if it's got some interference from something else up on the roof.
no, it actually, it's not being, I can't plug my laptop into the PoE and talk to it through the network cable. It's like it's not turning on or something. And I could never get anybody to tell me if they could see it RF wise because it was pointing at Beacon. And Beacon's like just a stone throw away from there. So I should have had RF path, but I couldn't get anybody to let me know whether or not they were actually seeing it on the air. So I'm just going to pull it down. It's not doing any good.
Yeah. You can put it up at the radio site, maybe.
I have a dish like John was talking about that was made for a product called Canopy, which was a 4.9 gigahertz. So it's already got the mount at the right angle and distance to put that thing. So I'm going to try playing with that.
Very cool. John Walling.
Nothing here.
Okay, and back to you, John, AZP. Nada. You're shaking your head. Okay. Well, that does it for our meeting. I'll go ahead and stop the recording. Somewhere there's a stop button. There it is.